Hear ye, bring in the council to discuss season 2, episode 2 of House of the Dragon. We got your friend, my friend, our friend, Jake, Micah. We got everyone's favorite, Dunny, and we have head of the table, but perhaps the court's fool, Michael Partham. Gents, another episode of House of Dragon in the books. I will say right off the gate, this one didn't hit with the edge that the first one hit. The first one hit like, that first sip of water on a desert day. But we are getting some movement. We are getting storyline, and this episode did not lack for the action, obviously.
No, hell of a time. We got the immediate fallout of last week's chaotic ending to the episode, and seeing all the chess pieces get put into play here. It's gonna be a real. It's a real interesting time in King's Landing right now, specifically, but also in Dragonstone. A lot of pieces moving around here. Councils being changed up a little bit as we're mentioning. So it was a good episode. Solid episode 2.
Yeah, we got our first brother battle of the season so far already, and it was a bloody one at that. So had a little bit of everything in episode 2, I thought.
Yeah, speaking of brother battles, let's put this to the panel here. Sir Eric versus Sir Eric or Clegane Bowl. Which one do you prefer? Which one do you think lived up to the hype?
The thing is, I feel like with the poor Cargills, they were forced to go at it in a phone booth, whereas the Cleganes got the Tokyo Dome essentially, as far as their venue. So I think the Cargills, for the build and for the actual animosity they had towards it and everything like that, I think they held their own. But obviously the venue and the fact that everything else was going on, you got to give the nod to Clegane Bowl, in my opinion.
The Cleganes got the long-term booking there. They got season after season just building up to that. Whereas the Erics basically went out in season 2. They went out in the third inning, essentially.
Yeah, I'd have to take the Clegane Bowl there.
I will say the twin aspect of it gives it bump it up a half a star at least. I
was lost for like half that.
I had no idea of what was going on. I was like, we just got to wait to see what happens here at the end because I have no idea who's who.
I guess, and I spent so much time trying to figure out which brother was brother that I didn't realize whether I should know what brother was brother. Because in the inside, go ahead, Barthy.
They avoided the little trope where they would be standing next to each other, and the one person's like, "Which one is Eric? I am. No, which one's Eric? He is." And he tried to trick them, Jedi mind trick them with some question that only Sir Eric or Sir Eric would know.
But yes, I believe the director of the episode noted that he really didn't want you to actually know which one was which until the other guy was basically in front of her and said, "Your Grace." Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I really got to question the Cargills here because this was their main event. This was, and I got to say something. We always compare stuff to other entertainment, everything like that. This, in a weird way, fell a little bit flat like the Usos to me. Only because the Usos facing off at WrestleMania, obviously after their build. But you're the twin, and you have Eric and Eric. I know, like I don't want to get lost or anything here along the way. But you have the Team Green Cargill. So he decides that he's gonna listen to Kristen Cole's reverse peer pressure, and he's gonna go all the way to Dragonstone, sneaks in, and everything like that. He gets all the way into Rhaenyra's room. And I don't think he had a moment of doubt, but he had a moment of I need to make sure I preserve my honor here and say I'm sorry I had to do this or whatever he said to him. And that just, first off, that blew it for him. Half second obviously cost him. And why are you going all the way there and you got to have that moment? Honor is the death of you in Westeros. And that's why the Cargill paid the price. And then you have the other Cargill brother who did the most honorable thing. Now I get what happened. He kinslayed. And that's basically you're donezo in Westeros when you kinslay. Nobody will ever treat you with respect. You'll always be looked down upon and everything. So I get that angle. I just don't know if he needed to, basically take himself out.
Super cool.
I didn't know if he needed to rage quit the game like that. That's all I'm saying. Where are you guys on that? Do you think that the one Cargill should have stayed?
Why he committed seppuku because he didn't want to be a kinslayer. He didn't want to face the guilt of having slain his own twin brother. I mean, how much psychological damage did that do to any of us? If we had a twin brother that we ended up killing, even if for a decent, good reason. But I'm not so sure that with the confusion of which one was which, maybe there was also a part of him that felt, well, will Rhaenyra ever really trust if I'm the right brother or the wrong brother? So I guess I might as well just, exit stage left.
Yeah, I was a little confused by the way he chose to go out after all that. I mean, obviously they did show like the emotion part about, the I still love you and the whole brotherly thing. So, you can kind of get where he's coming from, but that's an interesting angle. I hadn't thought of that. Obviously there is just the trust thing in general where your twin brother came to kill your queen who you're supposed to be protecting, but then just the fact of, can she trust either of these guys afterwards when all that's done? I also thought Rhaenyra during the whole thing, it was a little strange how she was kind of just staying in the room. I know there wasn't really much else, like there wasn't like a lot she could have done, but I thought, her personality and the way she acted in that moment was a little strange to me.
Well, it's a little like a quarterback in the pocket. You got to stay behind your lineman. Otherwise, you give your opponent a line of sight to basically sack you.
I agree with what Dunny's saying. I think she was selling the Cargills like in their armor and everything like that. But you're right. It was kind of out of character. Rhaenyra, this like defiant woman who we've seen like, give birth and then walk the halls of the Iron Throne, like down the way, like, for her to be cowering in the corner. You're right. That was a little weird, but I think that was to sell the Cargills, obviously. So that's weird. So I don't hate that there. By the way, I love real quick. We had the rundown, and this was last. So I just love that we got right into it right out the way, though, because it was kind of the main event of the episode. So you can't talk this episode without talking that. But just reeling it back here, obviously, we go back to, the fallout of last week's episode, which was the beheading of Prince Jaehaerys. Obviously, a cruel act by Blood and Cheese. Frust off, I'm pissed that Blood and Cheese, essentially Blood got caught so easily. I'm pretty pissed. I thought he was going to be able to make it away easily, given the fracas.
You'd think if you were carrying the head of the child that you'd be a little bit more discreet. I feel like you should have made a plan. Maybe someone else takes it, so I don't know who else is going to take it, like what you're going to do with that. But the fact that they caught him with head in hand, I was like, man, but like that is like the dumbest thing you could do is just be trying to walk out of King's Landing with this. Like when they search your bag, like nothing's there.
That's perfectly said. Head in hand is inexcusable. Like you were walking to basically like a police checkpoint. Like they weren't like going up to anybody or anything like that. You saw, but I did love the way they captured the chaos in the castle after it, because when you hear or read about it in Fire and Blood, you're really only thinking about the characters that are involved, the royal family, etc. But that was fucking chaos. That looked like you want to talk about miserable to just be like a servant. Like, you got off early. Maybe you just like, you turned in for the night. You thought it was going to be an easy sleep. Nope. You're waking up with a damn white cloak with their dagger in your face. Well, welcome to Westeros.
Did you guys think Larys was a little weird how he just was straight up telling the truth on who the killer was? I thought there was going to be a little bit of a twist there, or a moment where he could have lied or, done a little bit of a misdirection. And turns out he just told the complete truth on who the killer was.
I didn't have enough time to process my theory on this, but I was thinking that his woman, like his handmaid who he installed, who saw blood last week, and he laid down the trap in front of her. I thought she had maybe told him, and that the guy hadn't been captured, and he was going to put the blame on somebody else for like letting them go or something like that. Like I'm exactly what you were saying. I thought he was working a plot. I was shocked when they just had him in the black cells.
Yeah.
But with that said, we get dissension amongst Team Black. We get the scene where they're talking at the council, obviously. Rhaenyra, again, this show is doing a good job, I guess, of reminding you that like house loyalty is everything. And that, even though they have these dragons, you need the loyalty of all the houses, and the small folk are important. I think they kind of lost that maybe in the later seasons of Thrones, but the fact that these little political points mean so much, you got like all kinds of shit going on. But what did you think about the way that this fell out? I mean, because basically Daemon had no choice back here. He had to go back, kind of tail between his legs.
This was the most, I would say, apologetic that I've ever seen Daemon. He wasn't he wasn't outright saying I'm sorry, but he was saying it was a mistake, and he seemed almost sullen over it. And I've never seen him like that before, even though he was a bit defiant about doing what he felt he had to do, even though it wasn't what he intended to do. But and then him and Rhaenyra basically going back and forth about whose crown this should have been, who should have been the heir, and Rhaenyra calling back to the very first episode of the first season where Damon was out partying and, drinking and whoring around while, his brother was grieving the loss of his wife and his child. That was a nice little callback and some long-term storytelling there. And, basically, even though Damon literally, like you said, put the crown on Rhaenyra's head, there's still that bit of it should have been, the Dolph Ziggler should have been me, attitude still lingering in him.
I thought it was pretty interesting too how he asked Rhaenyra, he was like, "What do you think, I'm a monster?" It's like, well, you did just have a baby murdered, so kind of.
He killed his Dornish wife, or not Dornish wife, his bronze bitch, as he called it, his wife, from the Vale. So I mean, he's gone. He's basically had people killed in cold blood, but even this guy has his limits.
I wrote in my notes just about Daemon real quick, and I put this in the chat, I think, is that Daemon is Antonio Brown. Like, this guy can put up numbers for you. He can go to any field of battle, and he will help you win. He will he has the, that cutting edge ability on the field of battle. But everywhere else, a fucking huge liability. Yes. And that's why he's so tough to deal with.
Well, I think to your point, Partham, about him saying it was a mistake and everything, do we really believe it was a mistake, though? Like, with that smirk, everything we talked about last week, we had the theory that he just said, hey, if you find somebody, take them out, whatever you got to do.
Away when they asked him the question, what if we don't find him?
Yeah.
So the theory is that he said a son for a son, because the first thing that Blood says to Cheese when Cheese is kind of confused is a son for a son. Like, Blood didn't just make that up, like, on his brain. You know what I mean?
So even when Rhaenyra is pushing him in that moment, he's just like, they just messed up. Like, wasn't my fault. Didn't how could I have predicted that when, like, really, you really had the hand in it too. So his motive, that conversation though, was some of the best stuff in this show so far, because it's that, like you said, Mike, since the first episode, it's been building, and that tension, like, that conversation is something that has need to have happened since we first seen these two people, and the confliction that they both had, like Daemon thinking that he should be the heir, thinking that he should have a spot on the council with Viserys and all these other things early on in that season, and Rhaenyra getting it, and that tension that is between them. Like, it felt like it was tension between them that they needed to talk about for years and years and years, and it took this to get to it.
Yeah, and her just dropping the line, like, I've never trusted you wholly. So, as strong as their relationship has seemed at some parts of the show, it's, she dropped that bomb on him, kind of, and this meme that Maniac's showing right now is perfect.
It is perfect. It's really good. I mean, I'll tell you what, the Hot D meme game, if for nothing else, at 10 p.m. and the next morning, my goodness, it is always good as gold for everything. By the way, if you're looking for a weekend or any event or any day that's good as gold, get to Batavia Downs, the region's premier entertainment destination, Batavia, New York. Tell them Trainwreck and Maniac and the What's Trainwreck Watching crew sent you. But these are obviously great memes. So we got dissension amongst Team Black, and I got to tell you something, guys. I'm Team Black all the way. I bleed black for sure as far as Hot D and Westeros is concerned right now. But Team Green entertainment factor is off the charts compared to Team Black right now. I mean, you kind of only have about 2 or 3 dynamics really occurring, and I'm sure things will pick up with Jacaerys or everything else going on, all the other storylines there. But man, on Team Green, you just have about 5 to 7 storylines that are full throttle at all points. So let's dive into the Team Green side of things real quick. Do you guys have maybe a character we want to get into first? King Aegon? Do we want to talk Aemond and the brothel?
Aemond is just, I feel like his stock is plummeting in this season. He's not doing himself any favors. There was a very weird scene, like, really, but that was the only scene he was in the entire episode, right?
Well, it was the first part of the episode where he's looking through, I guess, his quarters and realizing someone's been there, and they were looking for him, and that's how they knew that he was the target. So
what's sad is
he's done.
He got a little boner there. I hate to say it. You couldn't see it directly on screen in his shivvies, but he got a boner. He was crawling around that castle like, oh, they came to kill a baby. And when he saw that the pieces were off his war board, he was so excited. He was so excited. Let me tell you this, that he looked under the board just to make sure like they all hadn't fallen under there. That it was like it was for real. It was too good to be true. But that was hysterical. And then the next thing you know, he's in the brothel talking about they were coming for me. It was so
he's
funny.
like questioning his own character a little bit, and yeah, it was great.
Well, it makes him a little more three-dimensional, right?
And at the end of the day, it's course correction, right? Like, think about what was happening 2 episodes ago. First off, Aemon went through like hyper puberty. One day he was as the same like height and age looking as Jacaerys and Lucerys, and the next thing he looks like he's 15 years older. Like, it's absolutely insane. And then you have basically, again, just a course correction. So this is a great example because you have Rhaenyra and Daemon. They kind of did the time jump and everything was fine between them, right? Like, everything was amazing. They had kids. Everything was good. Now, all of a sudden, he's choking her out. He's going behind her back. She's calling him pathetic. Like, there's all kinds of shit happening between them. And then you have the same course correction, I think, occurring here. You have Aemon, who people are probably like, why wouldn't he be king? He's got the more powerful dragon. He's the better fighter, et cetera, ever. But you're seeing this vulnerable side of him. You're seeing like that he does have these holes that maybe aren't so apparent. So I think they're doing a little bit of course correction on the characters, maybe to steering them where you want them or where you want their motives in place going into this huge war. But obviously, the big storyline out of Team Green, not that they sent the Parent Trap and the twins, the twin magic, but Otto Hightower, breaking news into Westeros News Network, is now on the market again. Otto Hightower. Who is Otto Hightower? Like Doc Rivers at this point?
Yes, that's perfect.
I didn't even think. I did not even think about that one until now. But like, that's just a guy you convince yourself you're going to be able to win with when you got the other pieces, and then every so often you just realize like this guy's a goon. Like, even with the best pieces, he meddles too much.
Who was that coach? I'm forgetting his name now. That the Sabres went back to after he was already on the team. He was already the coach.
Ted Nolan.
Ted Nolan. He's Ted Nolan.
Yep, that's a great call.
That is Ted Nolan-esque.
I wouldn't compare him to Lindy Ruff. I would not do that to Lindy Ruff.
Yeah. No. Oh, no. Absolutely. No. That's not Lindy Ruff. Otto Hightower is not Lindy Ruff. That's for sure.
But you got to give Otto credit because, I mean, Aegon's there.
Oh, he was his mind, fire.
And he's just trying to rein the young king in who just wants fire and blood at this point, and understandably so. But, it has to be a measured response, I guess, and not just, rain fire upon anybody you suspect of, disloyalty or whatever. But it was an interesting choice for Otto. Maybe a little insensitive, but as much as this is strategic, to parade the beheaded boys, and they had to reattach his head, of course, but to basically have a funeral procession with the weeping mother and the grandmother. I mean, it is a powerful sight for the people of Westeros, but sometimes you got to read the room a little bit with what's going on here and realize these people are human beings.
Well, that's my biggest, Otto was right in the argument that got him removed from his post there.
Yes.
I don't think he was wrong in anything he was saying, but everything you're saying is right. The way he went about it with Aegon was the wrong way. And that was supposed to be his strength, is being able to read what's going on, read the realm, read the room. And he couldn't understand how to deal with Aegon. He should have noted, when he's talking about that's crazy.
I mean, again, this is why Hati is so undefeated. Like, it's absolutely fucking insane to make this connection. But you wake up the next day and you see how it's. It's so true. Absolutely, as a grandfather, you should be in mourning. This guy is prepping the goddamn baby. Wants the baby's head sewn back on. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Did anyone think that something was going to happen when the wagon got stuck?
I thought that head was rolling off, bro. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I thought that was like a fantastic scene as far as the episode goes. Like, I hated it because of the way it was making me feel, but that's why it was such a good scene. Like, the way they displayed Helena like having this like panic attack essentially, and I'm sure it was a little more than that. She's trying to mourn her son, and this is something she didn't want to do in the first place. And then I just thought they portrayed it perfectly. It was a crazy scene.
Well, and it was eye-opening.
She's not a social or public person, and now she's at her most vulnerable in front of the whole darn city.
Exactly.
Right.
And eye-opening for her too when she's talking with Allison about it. Like, I don't know these people. Like, I don't want to agree with them, whatever. And they're acting like she's a god in front of them. Like, acting this gotta be just so jarring. And especially in that state of mind, it was very well done and great acting in that whole scene, Allison and Helena.
But then Aegon at the end basically going rogue and saying death to all the rat catchers. And Otto, for whatever his intentions or not being able to read the room, so to speak, and being more focused on strategy rather than, caring for his family. At the end, he was speaking facts about, we just won the people into our favor with playing the sympathy card, and now we're just throwing it right back at them with all these families of all the innocent rat catchers cursing, Aegon's name, and Aegon's just not giving a damn.
Otto Hightower had a great manager fed up with his celebrity client who had finally had enough. Like when he came back in after the Ratcatcher event, for sure, it was hysterical, honestly. And then he goes out kind of in a blaze of fire again. He's quitting. It's basically his job's over. I like this one. Like when Aegon tried to say that Sir Criston Cole had acted, and that was like some kind of saving note or something that was actually gonna say that. Fucking hysterical, man. I'll tell you what, this show, if there's one thing they're doing perfect, Criston Cole is just easily the most hateable motherfucking person that ever existed.
The guy the actor had to disable his Instagram comments because he's just getting roasted for being Criston Cole. That's where we're at with this. Bro he's not really Criston Cole, people, and that's how much people on the internet hate this man.
Wasn't it the guy from The Boys that plays
You got a nasty theory about Cole? Sorry, real quick, Donnie.
Yeah, just the way this is going, the amount of hate he's getting so early in this show, I have a weird prediction that he might have I don't want this to happen, but he might have a Jaime Lannister 180 where he turns his character around and then he's kind of, this good guy or hero towards the end. I don't want that to happen. I feel like we might be on that path.
Well, the only way he really turns good guys is if he acknowledges Rhaenyra as the true head of the Iron Throne, essentially.
Right.
But I mean, let's have a talk about Criston Cole, and it's too bad about the actor getting all those threats. I was going to say, it reminds me of the actor I think that plays Homelander recently commented on, "Hey, I'm not that guy. You got to separate, kayfabe from reality, or so to speak." But Cole, and I mean, Allison's a lot more sympathetic because she's just torn up about this. I thought that she was going to go the same way Aegon was going and just say, screw it, death to Rhaenyra, death to all the blacks. But she's turning this on herself. Like, maybe this is something I brought on myself. Maybe this is, fate or destiny or karma or something because of all the hypocrisy that I've caused. And Criston Cole could give a damn. He's projecting this onto his other Kingsguard, and he's sending them off to suicide missions, for crying out loud. I mean, are we going to put him? Are we putting Criston Cole in the same echelon as a Joffrey or who's that? That other guy, the bastard that took over Winterfell. What's his name?
Ramsay. Yeah,
Ramsay,
why I would say he's worse is because nobody on my Westeros screen right now is saying I hate Criston Cole. Nobody's even talking about him. He's almost like a non-story, and that's more frustrating to me because it makes you feel like you're the only one that's no. When you had Arya, she was saying Joffrey, his name every night until he basically died. You had Ramsay. I mean, people were talking about taking him down from the beginning since the second he took Winterfell. Whereas nobody hates on Criston Cole in this Westeros universe, and that's the worst part. This guy is regarded as a saint, and he's about to have the worst haircut in the game.
I loved how Otto called his mission to send Sir Eric to Rhaenyra a prank. Like he just called it what it was. He said that's not a good idea. You're essentially playing a prank, trying to fool everyone over there on Team Black that this is the actual twin. And that was right after he said, "What is Sir Cole done?"
Yeah,
yes.
Otto knows what's up. I don't know what's going to become of Aegon and Criston Cole. Basically, how many memes did you see, Maniac, where it's about talking about these two idiots looking at each other and saying, "Yeah, exactly."
Yeah.
Oh! It's absolutely an echo chamber between Aegon, like a young impressionable Aegon who now wants blood, after everything that happened, and Sir Criston Cole, who's looking for glory and just anything to prove to Queen Alicent that he's number one for sure. Because he's definitely trying for the play to eventually marry Alicent, clearly, right? Or else he wouldn't be taking her shit. Or else he wouldn't be taking her shit.
Speaking of Alicent, at the end, how shocked were we when he's just sitting there waiting for her, and she's almost indignant, like, seriously, after all this, we're just gonna, seduce me again? And she gives him the slap, slap, kiss routine. It's like 50 Shades of Green or something like that.
I hate to say it, but and listen, I'll never claim to be like a pro on love or anything, but when she started hitting him harder, I just knew she was gonna be fucking him harder, and that was the worst. As it started ramping up,
Yeah.
like she wasn't like that wasn't a beat down. She was that was literally like her body was trying to stop her from what she was like inclined to urge to do, and the only other thing she could think of was to like repress and hit him. And so she kept trying to do it harder, and finally she gave in because she wanted Sir Kristen Cole so bad.
You know what? At the end of the day, Eddie Murphy was always right. If you know, you know. You know what I mean? You've seen that routine on YouTube once or twice.
Yep.
Well, boys, another episode in the books. Obviously, yeah, we get the crazy ending with the Cargill Bros. Massaria, a big season MVP so far. You want to talk about a player, but Hot D has been about the clapbacks recently. You had, them trying to clap back about taking the throne. That's what happens at Storm's End with Lucerys. Then you have a son for a son, and now you have them sending a King's Guard into the throne. Like this is almost like it sounds crazy, but you're kind of supposed to use like lowborn scum and everything in these schemes, not like a King's Guard. I feel like this is unforgivable from Team Green, sending a King's Guard undercover into the throne. But given that they both died, I feel like there's going to be some political bullshit that they're going to send out.
Oh yeah, no one's gonna if they're gonna act like it was him on his own doing it or something like that. Like Kristen Cole, clearly King Gaslight at the moment. He can just be like, no idea where he showed up. Like no idea, didn't know he left his post. That's despicable of a member. Like he's just gonna come in with the lies right away. He's filing right in. That whole scene where he's just like, "Where were you?" was the most. Yeah. I'm like, bro, how are you doing this with a straight face right now? What is happening?
You know what that was?
That ass.
That was when your boss does something wrong and tries to blame it on you in front of his boss.
Yes.
Even though there wasn't, Cole's boss was there in the scene, but that had those exact vibes.
There are not a lot of moments of silent comedy, but all the Kingsguard just basically booking it once they started having the argument. Like that was laugh out loud funny. Like it was so loud, it was so quick. Oh, dude, so good, so good. Because they both just knew they were both on like a pedestal above them or whatever. But yeah, very good. Yeah, I mean, again, I think they're hitting the right buttons because they want Kristen Cole to be hated right now. It could eventually be a face turn, like Dunny said. But yeah, they got us going there. For this week, not a ton of dragon action.
Yeah, I was gonna say no.
So with that said. I mean, I have to delay. I can't because I can't give it to Caraxes for showing up and taking Daemon away. Like I can't blame Caraxes for that.
No.
So I mean, I think Vhagar becomes like our first 2-time bad Batavia Downs bad dragon of the week because again, like what did Vhagar do this week would be my question. Obviously a whole lot of nothing. It was like it's like the Tony Snell game with the graphic. 24 minutes it was 0 in the box scores. That is literally Vhagar right now. But I didn't know this episode was called Rhaenyra the Cruel. It was, when they were going through King's Landing, kind of, spitting that, what
propaganda.
Yeah, propaganda. I was stuck on philanthropy. Propaganda. Obviously, it has a big effect. But with that said, what are we looking forward to next week? It seems like we're going to be getting a filler episode kind of before actual war, right? They're talking about war in this episode, and we'll probably be getting it in episode 4.
I imagine that I feel like it's going to be an Alicent Rhaenyra heavy episode next week. We got some of them in this episode, but it was really more focused on, Aegon's reaction. We got some more Otto in there. We got the Daemon and Rhaenyra interaction, but not anything of Rhaenyra like acting on what to do next after this act was done to her. Now she knows, like, we didn't see her debrief the council again after having a discussion with Daemon. Not like Daemon admitted anything to her, obviously, but she knows what happened. She knows what went down. So I feel like those two are setting up the chess pieces. And that was the biggest thing, that Alicent conversation with Otto at the end, where she's like, nah, don't go back to, I can't remember where he wanted to go. Go to meet with the Tyrells, curry favor. Like Alicent now seeing this as an opportunity, like, hey, like, how can we get some more power? How can I kind of start flexing my muscle here? Now that my dad's gone, how can I really share my influence and put some more put some more of her touch on this reign for Aegon and kind of be in his ear. So, and now that she obviously has Kristen Cole's ear, who's the hand of the king. So who's really going to be the hand of the king here? Is it going to be Kristen Cole, or is he just going to do whatever Allison's referring to him to? Like, how can she kind of use these relationships to her advantage? And as much as she respects and loves her father, he was definitely getting in her way a lot of what she wanted to do and the way that she wanted to kind of do things.
In episode 9, they were going head to head. It's easy to forget. That was the whole storyline. Who was going to get to Aegon first and basically be able to control how he dealt with Rhaenyra. And yeah, I think also, though, the more you look at it, Otto Hightower knew he fucked up. Like, looking at all this, and it's not just because he put Aegon in power. It was the execution. It was the messiest. I mean, you had people being killed in the fucking council. Like, that was a disaster. So I think he looks back on it kind of almost with shame at this point. Obviously you're trying to control something when it grows out of your hands. But yeah, it's crazy. I feel bad for Otto Hightower because I've kind of seen him scheme Viserys, and then obviously he schemed Rhaenyra out of and like he did so without like any worry at all. But yeah, it's kind of weird. That's the Otto Hightower cycle. Every 3 to 4 episodes, you find a way to feel bad for him because he gets fired.
I like that you brought up that Kristen Cole and Allison dynamic, Jake, because it did. I was thinking, like, going forward, this could have some junior soprano running the show, but Tony Soprano really being the puppet master. Mm-hmm. And I think we might get a little of that from Allison and just using Kristen Cole, I guess, for more reasons than one.
That is a great point, truthfully, because, like you said, Allison's going to be grasping power any way she can. Is the Queen Dowager? It's not the Queen Regent anymore, like Cersei was.
Yeah, I was wondering what the difference was in that regard.
Oh, you know what? I'm an idiot. Queen Regent because she was technically in charge because Tommen wasn't old enough. And Queen Dowager is more you're just used to be queen and now you're the older woman. All right, shout out. What do you got?
Think of Alan in this episode. We only got a small glimpse, but there was a little bit of foreshadowing that he might, become a soldier soon or something.
Well, first off, the fact that you say it like that says enough of it. That there was more. I'm left now with more questions about Alan after this second appearance than I am after the first appearance.
I thought we were gonna get more, truthfully.
And I say that that can be done in a good way, creating mystery on a character. It was not done in a good way with Alan. I don't know what this guy's fucking deal is. And I say that with respect because it seems like he's clearly going to be a big character. I haven't seen.
They made a point.
I saw more Alan than I saw Lord Corlys this episode, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So and the weird thing for me, again, because we talked about knowing book spoilers and everything like that. I'll get into that also in a little bit, but apparently the Alan equivalent, and we might have touched on this last week, is a much younger character in House of the Dragon, like almost like borderline child.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Is what I'm being told. So I don't know how they're going to flex this or whatever, but maybe they didn't want like a child lord maybe to rise in Driftmark or whatever, but clearly there's a Driftmark void and Alan seems to be getting a lot of FaceTime for sure. Like when Triple H was the, Royal Rumble favorite and whatever year it was when he won it, and he hadn't been on WWE TV for like 3 years. That was a pretty big tell that, he was going to be winning the Royal Rumble. So I don't know. Spoilers there, but I did want to mention other spoilers because I will say I know one spoiler, and it's a pretty big spoiler overall in the House of the Dragon universe because reading internet comments, I didn't go diving for it. It was like a scroll, and it was there. You know what I mean? But yeah, it hasn't ruined anything for me. I'm still keeping an open mind. But I happened last night to be scrolling through all the memes and everything, and someone said, "I can't believe they did this." And they showed 2 screenshots from the episode. And I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but it almost was like, like how they would do Game of Thrones foreshadowing, like, Tywin would be catching fish. And then the friggin' Red Wedding happened like the next episode. You know what I mean? It was similar. It was similar to that. It's similar to that in that it was 2 characters and it was a situation between them. And they were basically teasing, but I would say I'll be amazed by it. But I also wanted to bring to the table, do you guys know any spoilers based on the books, internet comments, anything like that?
I have a general idea of the books and the lore of the whole thing. So as far as previewing, /spoilering, I think Cole and Aegon are about to, they're tired of hanging around King's Landing, and they're gonna, start to march on some places and start, fire and blooding.
This is a great question.
Black
We talked the chapter, the inning in the bloodline. Where are we in the inning of the Dance of the Dragons here, Parthy? Are we in the top two?
Third or fourth.
Oh, wait, we're in third or fourth. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we're a little bit into it.
keep
I
in
know
mind-
I know we've had some big events.
Keep in mind, Damon said he's about to fly out to Harrenhal to secure that place for the Blacks. I don't know if it's going to be as exciting as what's going to happen with Aegon and Cole, but they'll certainly be a factor going forward.
Okay. And you boys?
Nothing.
I unfortunately have, I think, a pretty big spoiler that I was literally just trying to look up someone's name on Google, and it was like one of like the questions, and it just says, and it wasn't even the person's name that I was looking up.
Bastards.
But
I'm
still very much.
I think we know the same one.
Are we talking about episode 4 and what we think is going to be going down there?
Stop this. Stop. No more of this. I don't want to be any more spoiled than I already am. I got spoiled for the entire Game of Thrones series. I don't want to be spoiled anymore. With that said, thank you for following along the throne room. We've held court. Shout out to Parthy. Shout out to Dunny. Shout out to Micah. Shout out to myself. We have the 3rd episode of House of the Dragon coming this Sunday. Make sure you tune in there. Make sure you're following everything on all platforms: YouTube, SoundCloud, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Because what's the sign up, Parthy? I need it from you.
Whether you're on Team Green or whether you're on Team Black, we wish you good fortune in the wars to come.
And a good night now.